When I opened my eyes, the world was gold and silent, the kind of silence that hums inside your bones. Sand brushed against my lips, dry and endless, and the air shimmered with heat like the breath of something ancient watching me. I thought I was dead again. But then I felt the serpent move beneath my skin. Its coils twined along my wrist, scales of light rippling as if made of molten glass. I had felt its death once, when my blood ran cold in the temple of glass scales. I remembered poison in my veins, betrayal, and the flash of a blade I loved more than my own heartbeat. Khalil. His name was the first sound that escaped my mouth when I realized I could still speak. The desert around me sighed. Dunes rose and fell like the backs of sleeping beasts. The wind carried whispers, voices too faint to understand. Yet I knew them. The desert always remembers its own. I should have died. I did die. I remember the moment my body fell among my brothers and sisters of the Serpent Order, their eyes cold as steel, their blades gleaming in false loyalty. They had called me a traitor. And in my fury, I had become one. I killed Khalil that night, not knowing his betrayal had been a lie. But now I was back. Not reborn, not remade, returned. The gods had rewound me into my own life, my own skin, years before my death. Do you hear it? A voice asked. I turned, startled. A figure stood behind me, shrouded in veils of shifting cloth that reflected the dunes like ripples of water. A veil-walker shaman. Her eyes were hidden behind thin glass beads, yet her voice carried like wind over bone. The sands hum because they remember your fall, child. The desert has not given you back your life. It has only lent it to you. For a price. What price? I asked, my throat raw. The same as always. Memory. The desert feeds on stories that refuse to end. Her words fell like stones. I pushed myself up, the serpent mark glowing faintly beneath my skin. The temple ruins were gone. This was the outer desert, miles from the Order's stronghold. Somewhere beyond the dunes, my assassins trained in secret. Somewhere beyond them, the Scorpion Order plotted our deaths. And among them all, Khalil still lived. I felt my pulse quicken. The chance I had begged for, to undo the worst of my sins, lay before me. I don't care what the desert wants, I whispered. This time I'll change it. The shaman tilted her head. Her veil fluttered, revealing lips carved with runes. Be careful with vows in the desert, serpent child. The sands record every word. And oaths grow teeth. The wind shifted. I could feel the serpent beneath my skin stir uneasily, as if it too remembered that night. Before I could speak again, the shaman lifted her sand vessel, a sphere of glass swirling with stormlight, and released it. A faint image bloomed inside. Two silhouettes locked in battle. One serpent, one scorpion. You will meet him again soon, she said. And you will kill him again. Unless you learn what truly binds you. Then she vanished, leaving only footprints that sank instantly into the sand. I stood there for a long time, watching the mirage of the horizon tremble. I remembered Khalil's eyes, the warm gold of dusk, the sharp calm of a blade about to strike. I remembered his laugh. I remembered the way he had trusted me even when I no longer trusted myself. And I remembered the exact moment I drove my dagger through his heart. The memory felt heavy as stone. The serpent coiled tighter, as if to keep me from falling apart. I started walking east, toward the mountains, toward the place where the scorpions trained their assassins in the shadows of the dunes. Every step felt like walking into a story I had already told. The wind howled my name across the dunes, Kalani. And somewhere within that endless sound, I thought I heard another voice, faint and low like a heartbeat buried beneath sand. You always strike first, Kalani. Even when you love. I froze. The words were not memory, they were now. The serpent mark flared like fire. The air around me rippled, and for a heartbeat the world seemed to flicker. I saw two deserts layered over one another. One alive, one dead. The mirage. The shaman's warning echoed through my mind. The veils between worlds were thinner than I'd realized. Even my thoughts might be enough to summon him. I pressed my palm to my wrist to steady the serpent's glow. Not yet, I whispered. Not until I'm ready. But the desert didn't listen. It never does. A sandstorm rose in the distance. A wall of gold and blood-red light. Inside it I saw shadows moving, shapes that were not human. Coils of smoke, blades of glass, wings made of flame. The djinn. Once I had scoffed at the old stories of them. spirits of fire and air, cursed to obey mortals who dared to speak their names. But the Serpent Order had always known the truth. The djinn are not servants. They are memories, the desert's living thoughts. And when you tamper with fate, they come to watch. The storm roared closer. The serpent beneath my skin hissed. I ran. Through dunes that burned my feet. Through wind that stung like shards. Lightning split the horizon. Not blue but gold like veins of living glass. When the storm swallowed me whole, the world turned to fire and sand. I fell to my knees choking, the serpent on my arm writhing like a living thing. Show me. I screamed into the wind. Show me how to fix it. For a moment the storm stilled. And in that silence a voice answered, smooth and ancient, like silk dragged across stone. Fix it, the voice whispered. There is no fixing what feeds me. I turned and saw him. A figure made of shadow and starlight, eyes burning like twin suns. The storm bent around him. The air trembled. A djinn of shadow. You wish to change what the desert has already eaten, it said. Your blood sings with regret, serpent child. Sweet, powerful, dangerous. What are you? I asked, though I already knew. The consequence of your wish. The djinn smiled, teeth glinting like shards of obsidian. Go on then. Rewrite your sin. The desert loves a good story. But remember, it always asks for an ending. Then it was gone. The storm died as swiftly as it had come. I was alone again, but not empty. The serpent beneath my skin pulsed warm and alive. Somewhere ahead, across dunes that shimmered like flame, I could sense him. Khalil. Alive. Waiting. Unknowing. I closed my eyes and whispered the words that would damn me twice over. I will find you, my love. Even if I must crawl through the bones of time itself. And the desert, cruel, eternal, listening, whispered back. Then comes Serpent. The story begins again. The desert stretched before me for 7 days and 7 nights. I counted time not by the sun, but by the sound of my own heartbeat, each thud a promise I could not yet fulfill. By the 8th dawn I saw it. The black dune that did not move. The wind hissed around it but never touched it. Beneath that dune lay the obsidian hive, home of the Serpent Assassins, and of him, Khalil. The name burned in me like venom. I slipped into the valley before dusk, veiled in trader's robes dusted with sand. My dagger rested against my thigh, its blade curved like a smile only I understood. The serpent on my wrist hid beneath wrappings, but I could feel it stir, restless, sensing what waited ahead. The hive was alive beneath the sands. Hidden vents exhaled heat like breath, and through their hum, I heard chanting low, rhythmic, deadly. The scorpions prayed as they sharpened their blades. Truth through death, their creed went. Lies are venom. Truth is the sting. I'd always despised their purity. But part of me, the part that remembered Khalil's quiet conviction, his relentless honesty, envied it too. Inside, the tunnels glowed red with fireglass. Symbols of Rakthar, their god of truth, crawled along the walls like scorpion tails. I moved like smoke, slipping through chambers until I reached the training hall. And there he was. Khalil stood alone, bare arms glistening with sweat, his blade slicing through air with deliberate grace. The sight struck me harder than any blow. He moved the same, precise, unhurried, beautiful. My heart stuttered. He turned before I could hide. His eyes met mine, molten gold beneath the torchlight, and I saw confusion flicker there, followed swiftly by recognition. Kalani. My breath caught. Hearing my name in his voice after years of silence felt like the world cracking open. He took a step forward. Then another. You're dead, he said softly. I saw your blood on the stones. I buried. I drew my dagger. Then I am a ghost. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. The desert wind whispered through the vents, carrying the faint hum of prayer. He raised his scimitar slowly, eyes never leaving mine. If you're here, ghost or not, it means the Serpent Order hunts truth again. I'm not here to hunt, I said. I'm here to warn you. Khalil's laugh was short, bitter. You warned me once before. The night you drove your blade through my heart. The words hit me like a whip. I lunged faster than thought, blade meeting his. The clash rang like struck glass. Sparks danced between us, as if the desert itself leaned closer to listen. Our duel was a language, one only we spoke. He knew every feint, every rhythm. I could read the tension in his muscles before each move. We had trained together once, bled together, slept beside one another when the desert was cruel and the world colder still. And even now, every strike felt like a memory. He disarmed me with a twist of his wrist. I caught his blade with my bare hand, blood slicking my fingers. Our eyes locked, his full of rage and sorrow, mine full of everything I could never say. Then he whispered, barely audible, "You always strike first, Kalani. Even when you love." The memory of those same words in the storm surged through me. This was the moment the sands had repeated, the coil of fate tightening again. But this time I didn't strike. I let the dagger fall. The shock in his eyes was almost pain. He lowered his weapon slowly, uncertainty breaking through his composure. "What game are you playing?" "No game." I stepped closer, blood dripping onto the red stone floor. "I came to change what I destroyed, to end the war between us, between our gods." "You speak of gods now?" He almost smiled. "You who believed only in lies and poisons?" "I believe in what I lost," I said. "And the desert gave me a chance to take it back." He looked at me as if seeing the ghost of his past rather than its shadow. Then quietly, "You shouldn't have come back." His tone softened, and the tension between us became something else. Fragile, unbearable. I wanted to tell him everything. About the serpent god's curse, the shaman's warning, the djinn who whispered in the storm. About how my blood had been rewound through time like a song played backward. But the air changed before I could speak. A voice slithered between us, echoing through the hall. Smooth, mocking, impossibly near. How sweet. A serpent and a scorpion tangled once more. "You never learn." The torches flickered. A shadow coalesced against the wall, forming a tall figure wreathed in smoke, the djinn of the mirage. Khalil's blade flashed up, but I caught his wrist. "Don't," I whispered. "You can't kill what isn't bound." The djinn laughed. "The sound dry as crushed bone." "Still trying to rewrite the story, serpent child? Still pretending love can outtalk the sands?" Khalil frowned. "What does it want?" "To watch," I said quietly. "They always watch." The djinn circled us, eyes burning like amber glass. "You seek to change the past, Kalani of the serpents. But every act of mercy feeds the desert's hunger. Every hesitation writes another verse of your tragedy." "I don't care," I said. "Tell me what I must do to free us." It tilted its head, intrigued. "You wish to free yourselves? Then bring me the scorpion's heart. The relic your lover guards without knowing it." Khalil stiffened. "That relic is sacred. It cannot be touched." "It is you, Khalil," the djinn murmured. "The desert's favorite lie, truth wrapped in flesh. When she killed you, she ended nothing. You carry the curse that binds the two orders, and your blood sings the name of Rakthar himself." Khalil's grip tightened on his weapon. "You speak riddles, spirit." "I speak your doom." The djinn's gaze turned to me. "Take his heart and the coil will break. Keep it beating, and the desert will begin again." The torches flared and it vanished, leaving only the scent of burned air. For a long moment we said nothing. The world seemed to still around us. Khalil looked at me, really looked. The anger was gone. What remained was fear. Not for himself but for me. "You're chasing ghosts, Kalani," he said finally. "You think the gods care about our love? We are dust to them. Sand beneath their feet." "Maybe," I whispered. "But even sand remembers the shape of the wind." He exhaled, eyes softening. "Then what now?" "Now," I said, "I find the truth they buried in us both." He hesitated, then stepped closer. The faint scent of steel and dust surrounded him, achingly familiar. "If you're lying," he murmured, "I'll kill you myself." "If I'm lying," I said, "I won't stop you." The serpent on my wrist stirred, coiling tighter. It knew the weight of my words, an oath spoken in the desert's tongue, where every vow binds the soul. We stood together beneath the red torches, surrounded by shadows that seemed to breathe. For the first time since my return, I felt something like peace, fragile, dangerous, beautiful. But peace never lasts long in Azaran. Outside, the wind shifted. The sands began to hum again, the song of stories repeating. And deep within the dunes, something vast and ancient stirred, as if the gods themselves had turned to watch. We left the obsidian hive before dawn. The sky was a violet bruise, the sands cold enough to bite. Khalil rode ahead, his silhouette a dark cut against the horizon. The desert wind carried whispers, the kind that sound like your own thoughts until you realize they're not yours at all. By the third day, the dunes began to change. The sand shifted from gold to pale silver, and the air shimmered with illusions. This was the oasis of echoes, a place the desert used to remember itself. Every dune here hummed with stories that had already happened, or hadn't yet. I knew the danger. The mirage was near. Khalil dismounted, kneeling to touch the sand. No footprints, he said. Even our own vanish. That's how the mirage feeds, I told him. It swallows your past first, then your path. He looked at me with something between admiration and fear. And you've walked through this before? Once, I said. In another life. He didn't ask what I meant. He just nodded, as if he already knew the answer. We pressed on until the dunes fell away into a valley of glass. There the world bent, sky and sand blurring into one endless mirror. At its center stood an ancient archway, carved from blue stone that pulsed like a heartbeat. It was older than both our orders, older than the gods who claimed us. The Veilwalker's Gate. Khalil's breath caught. This is the mirage itself. No, I said softly. This is the door to the truth beneath it. The serpent on my wrist writhed, its scales glowing faintly. The mark of my curse had begun to throb again, warning me that what lay ahead could not be undone. Khalil drew his scimitar, not in threat but in devotion. Whatever happens beyond that gate, we face it together. I smiled faintly. Even if the truth kills us? He met my gaze. Especially then. The gate responded to our voices. Light rippled across its surface, and the reflection of the desert twisted into something else, our memories. I saw the night I poisoned him, the firelight on his skin, the tremor in my hand before I struck. He saw it too. You were crying, he said quietly. You were smiling, I whispered back. The arch flared. A wind roared through, carrying our names like a curse and a blessing combined. And then the mirage swallowed us whole. The world shattered, not violently but gently like glass melting in heat. I stood on the same dunes, yet they were not dunes. Each grain of sand shimmered with reflections, faces, memories, ghosts. I saw myself as a child, swearing loyalty to the Serpent Order. I saw Khalil training under Rakthar's priests, his hands bloodied, his eyes bright with conviction. The mirage was rewriting us. Khalil reached for me but his form wavered, fragments peeling away into smoke. Kalani? I'm here, I said, though my voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Then the desert spoke. Not the djinn, not the wind, the desert itself. Children of poison and truth, it murmured. You seek freedom, but your stories are already carved into my bones. The dunes shifted, and from them rose two colossal figures, half sand, half memory. One was the serpent goddess, her eyes endless night. The other, the scorpion god Rakthar, his body armored in obsidian light. Between them the mirage burned. A rippling wound in the world. Khalil dropped to one knee. Rakthar, father of truth. Do not kneel, the god thundered, voice splitting the sky. You are my blade forged in deceit. And yet you falter. The serpent's voice was softer, crueler. And you, Kalani, you who carried my whisper, traded my gift for the illusion of love. I wanted to shout I didn't trade it, I was tricked. But lies meant nothing here. Every word you spoke became visible, curling in the air like smoke. Truth alone survived. So I told them what I'd learned. About the djinn, about the coil that bound us. About how their endless feud turned mortals into sacrifices. The serpent hissed in amusement. And you wish to unmake our war? Yes, I said. We are tired of being stories you keep telling yourselves. The gods regarded one another, the tension between them older than stars. Then Rakthar spoke, his voice low and sharp. There is one truth that ends all lies, the Veilwalker's heart. Break it and you may choose your own fate. But beware. It beats in you both. The mirage flared again, and the truth unfolded before us. A memory from before time. Once the serpent and the scorpion had been one god, Azara, keeper of balance. But pride divided them. One worshipped silence and deception, the other, clarity and law. When they tore themselves apart, the world split into lies and truths. and the first mortals were made to carry that wound. Khalil looked at me, realization dawning. We are not their weapons. We are their halves. Yes, I said softly. And they've made us kill each other across centuries to keep themselves alive. The gods began to fade, their forms unraveling as if they could not bear to be seen this way. The mirage trembled around us, breaking apart. If you merge what was divided, the serpent whispered, you will cease to be. If you refuse, said Rakthar, the world will burn again. The choice settled heavy in my chest, and for the first time, I truly understood what rebirth meant. It was not resurrection. It was surrender. Khalil sheathed his blade and stepped closer, his eyes glowing faintly in the mirage light. You've always chosen death, Kalani. This time choose life, even if it means letting go of everything else. I don't know how. He reached for my hand. Then I'll show you. Our palms met, serpent and scorpion. Poison and truth. The mirage screamed. Light poured from our joined hands, weaving through the dunes like veins of fire. Every illusion shattered, the wars, the betrayals, the countless deaths. The past folded inward, collapsing into a single point of brilliance. And for a heartbeat I saw every version of us, every life, every failure, every kiss stolen in secret, all at once. Then the light went out. When I opened my eyes, the desert was silent. The gods were gone. The mirage had vanished. Only Khalil and I remained, standing in an endless plain of untouched sand. The serpent mark on my wrist was gone. His eyes no longer glowed with Rakthar's fire. The world was empty, but free. He exhaled shakily. Did we die? I smiled faintly. Not this time. We stood there for a long while listening to the new silence. A silence that felt like the first true peace the desert had ever known. Then from somewhere far away, thunder rolled, soft and distant, like the earth itself taking its first breath. The world had begun again. When the light died, the world felt hollow. The winds that once howled across the dunes had gone still. No whispers. No gods. No serpents. No scorpions. Just us, two souls standing in the ruins of eternity. The sand was no longer gold or silver, but white, pure and empty. When I stepped forward, it did not shift beneath my feet. It waited, as though the desert itself had forgotten how to move without the weight of prayers. Khalil stood beside me silent. The faint glow that once haloed him, the mark of Rakthar's blessing, had vanished. He looked human. And so did I. The serpent that once slept beneath my skin was gone. For the first time in both our lives, I could not feel the pulse of any magic. No venom. No curse. No divine pull. Only a heartbeat. My own. We wandered for what might have been hours or days. Time had come undone along with everything else. The dunes were endless yet familiar. The horizon shimmered like a blade, always just beyond reach. I thought of the world we'd left behind. The twin orders of assassins, the temples, the shamans who whispered to spirits. Had they vanished too? Or were they reborn somewhere new, unbound by the gods who once owned them? Kalani, Khalil murmured at last. What if there's nothing left? Then we built something new. He laughed softly. A sound so human it hurt. You make it sound simple. It never is, I said. But it's ours now. For a while we walked in silence. The desert stretched on, vast and indifferent. Yet something in its stillness comforted me, as if the world were holding its breath, waiting to see what we'd do next. When night finally came, it was not dark. The stars burned low and steady, closer than before, like lanterns hung from an invisible ceiling. I lay on my back and watched them, listening to the quiet rhythm of Khalil's breathing. For the first time, I didn't feel haunted by what had been. I keep remembering the night you poisoned me, he said after a while. I turned to him. You shouldn't. He smiled faintly. Maybe not. But it reminds me of something important. What? That even when you killed me, I still loved you. His words hit harder than any blade. I wanted to speak, to tell him that love had never died, only drowned beneath duty and gods and centuries of lies, but the words tangled in my throat. So instead I reached out and brushed my fingers against his hand. He didn't pull away. By morning the horizon had changed again. A faint shimmer rose from the east, not illusion but life. Palm trees. Water. A village. We ran. It felt surreal, moving through the sand like mortals again. No magic guided our steps. No serpents whispered warnings. Only instinct and hope. As we neared the settlement, I realized it was not one I'd ever seen before. The architecture was different, softer, rounder, built from pale stone and driftwood. The people who walked among the tents were not serpents or scorpions, but something in between. Their eyes were bright like mine once were, but without the cold hunger of the orders. They moved with grace but not secrecy, strength but not cruelty. When they saw us, they didn't bow. They didn't draw weapons. They simply watched, curious but unafraid. A woman approached us, tall, wrapped in silks the color of moonlight. Around her neck hung a talisman shaped like a spiral. Neither serpent nor scorpion, but both intertwined. "You've come from the White Sands," she said, her voice soft and knowing. "Yes," I replied. "What is this place?" She smiled gently. "It has no name yet. We are the first. The winds call this land Azara, after a word we found in the old stones. It means balance." The name struck through me like lightning. Azara, the name of the god that once was. "What year is it?" Khalil asked. The woman's smile faded slightly. "Year 1. We were offered food and rest, and as the day passed, we learned what little these people knew. They spoke of a dawn where the stars fell silent, and the old god's temples crumbled into dust. A world without masters had been born overnight. They didn't remember the wars or the orders. To them, the serpent and scorpion were only symbols, tales of the past. Khalil listened quietly, a strange sorrow flickering behind his eyes. When we were alone again, he asked, "Do you think this is the same world or something new?" I thought about that for a long time. Maybe both. Maybe this is what happens when you mend what's been broken. He nodded slowly. "Then what are we now, Kalani? If not assassins, if not cursed lovers caught between gods?" I looked at him, truly looked, and saw the man beneath all the layers of vengeance and faith. The one who had smiled once before the world turned us into weapons. "We're just people," I said softly. "And that's terrifying." He laughed again, but there was a tremor in it. "Do you regret it? Ending them? Ending everything?" I shook my head. "No. I only regret not realizing sooner that I could have chosen differently the first time." That night I couldn't sleep. The wind whispered across the dunes, carrying faint echoes of what had been. Fragments of song, prayers, laughter, pain. The ghosts of the old world. I wandered outside, barefoot in the cool sand. The moon hung low, enormous, pale as bone. I whispered a name into the silence. "Serpent. Rakthar. If you can hear me, we're free." No answer came. Only the steady hum of the wind, reshaping the dunes grain by grain. But as I turned to return to the tents, I saw something gleam in the sand. A single serpent scale, black as obsidian, glinting faintly in the moonlight. Picked it up. It was warm. Alive. Khalil appeared behind me, silent as ever. "What is it?" I held it out to him. "A reminder." "Of what?" "That even gods can die," I said. "But stories never do." He took my hand, curling my fingers over the scale. "Then let's write a new one." The days that followed blurred into rhythm. We helped the new people build their city. I trained some of them in the art of defense, not assassination but protection. Khalil taught them how to listen to the land, how to find water, how to speak to the wind. We became part of their myth without meaning to. They called me the Veiled Serpent, guardian of rebirth. Khalil they called the Scorpion of Dawn, the one who turned death into light. But titles meant nothing to us anymore. We were simply learning how to live. And yet, sometimes when dusk fell and the shadows stretched long, I would look toward the horizon and feel it, a pulse beneath the sand, faint but familiar. As if the gods we killed were not gone, merely sleeping beneath this new world, waiting for another generation to remember their names. One evening, as the sky bled into red-gold twilight, Khalil and I stood at the edge of the dunes. The wind tugged at our clothes, warm and restless. "I wonder," he said quietly, "if we were meant to end like this." I smiled, my eyes on the horizon. "No one is meant to end. We just begin again." He turned to me, eyes dark and soft. "And if the world forgets us? Then let it," I whispered. "We didn't do this to be remembered. We did it to be free." He reached for my hand and I let him. The sun dipped below the dunes, casting everything in molten light. For a heartbeat, the desert looked alive again. Breathing, shimmering, endless. And I thought perhaps it was, because maybe rebirth isn't about starting over. Maybe it's about learning to live in the silence that follows. Peace never lasts long in the desert. Seasons changed, though the word season barely meant anything here. The dunes shifted as if the world was learning how to breathe again. New rivers cut through the white sands, carving lifelines for the people of Azara. We built gardens, temples, even a small citadel that shimmered in the heat like a dream half remembered. And yet, I could feel something stirring beneath it all. It began as a whisper in the wind. A tremor soft but unmistakable. The serpent scale I'd kept began to hum faintly at night, glowing beneath the moonlight. I'd buried it once, but each morning I found it again, resting near my bed as though it had crawled back on its own. The gods might have fallen, but their remnants lived on. And perhaps so did their will. Khalil saw it too. His dreams grew restless. He'd wake with sand clinging to his hands, murmuring names we thought we'd buried with the old world. One night I found him outside, staring at the horizon. The stars were shifting, forming a new constellation. But I recognized it. The serpent and the scorpion circling each other again. Khalil, I said softly, do you see it? He nodded. They're not gone. They're returning. Or maybe, I whispered, we never let them go. He turned to me, eyes shadowed. If they come back, they'll bring everything with them. The wars, the vows, the blood. And the love, I said. His expression softened with something like pain. Kalani, that love was forged in curses and endings. Maybe it was never meant to survive peace. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The desert wind whistled through the palms, carrying the sound of laughter from the village beyond. Then I said, if peace means forgetting who we were, then I'll take the storm instead. The next day the wind turned. Hotter. Wilder. The shamans came running to the citadel gates, terrified. The wells were boiling. The sky burned red with sand. The mirage was returning. I ran to the dunes, the serpent scale clutched in my hand. The earth trembled beneath my feet, cracking open in long jagged lines. From those wounds came light, gold and black twisting together like twin flames. The voices of the gods bled through. The serpents whisper. Rakthar's roar. You broke us, they thundered. You thought you could live without us. But love and death are bound, and you are bound to both. The ground split wider, revealing an abyss where the old temple once stood. From within shadows rose, familiar shapes, echoes of the orders that once ruled the sands. Vipers and scorpions, their eyes hollow, their blades dripping with memory. The past was clawing its way back. I called to Khalil. We ended this once. We can end it again. He shook his head, voice lost in the storm. Not by fighting. You can't kill what's already dead. The serpent scale burned in my palm, too hot to hold, yet I didn't let go. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around my heart. You are our vessel, Kalani, the serpent hissed. As long as you live, we live. And in that instant I understood the truth. The gods hadn't died. They'd hidden inside me. The Veilwalker's heart, the final secret. It wasn't just our love that had bound them together. It was me. I was their cage. And now that cage was breaking. The storm swallowed the village. The wind screamed, tearing through tents and towers alike. Khalil fought his way to me, his eyes blazing, not with divine fire, but human desperation. Tell me what to do, he shouted. Kill me, I said. He froze. No. If I die, the gods die with me. The world stays free. His jaw tightened, pain flickering across his face. And if I refuse? Then they'll rise again. Everything we built will burn. He looked at me, really looked, as if trying to memorize every scar, every breath, every life we'd ever lived together. Then he whispered, you always end with sacrifice. Tears stung my eyes. It's all I know. He stepped forward, drawing his blade. The storm howled louder, the sky bleeding gold and black. I won't do it, he said suddenly, throwing the blade aside. Not again. We'll find another way. Khalil. No. His voice broke. You carried this curse alone once. You don't have to do it again. If the gods want a vessel, they'll take me. Before I could stop him, he reached out and pressed his hand to my heart. The serpent mark flared to life, bright, searing. The magic tore through him like lightning. He screamed, and the sound split the world. The gods' voices merged into one final cry. And then silence. Khalil fell into my arms, the light fading from his eyes. The mark vanished from my skin. The serpent scale turned to dust between my fingers. The storm died. The desert stilled. The world was free again, but I was not. Days passed, maybe weeks. I buried him at the edge of the new oasis, where the sands turned green with reeds. The villagers helped me carve a stone with no name. They don't know the truth of what he did. They think the storm was a test, a myth reborn. And maybe it was. But I know. Every night, I sit by the water and speak to the wind. Sometimes I feel him there, faint like a pulse beneath the sand. The scorpion of dawn, still guarding the horizon. The gods are gone. The world is quiet. But I've learned something in the silence. Love doesn't end. It only changes shape, from poison to prayer, from curse to memory. We broke the cycle. But in breaking it, we became its echo. And if anyone ever tells our story, I hope they remember this. That even in the cruelest deserts, something beautiful can still bloom. Final mystical reflection. Seamless outro for YouTube. When the sands of fate shift, remember. We are all walking through our own deserts, haunted by what we were. Longing for what we might become. The past will call to you, whispering in familiar voices, promising to change. But freedom isn't found in rewriting yesterday. It's in forgiving yourself enough to live today. If this story found you, if Kalani's journey stirred something quiet inside you, let the winds carry it further. Leave your mark upon the dunes. Like, share, and subscribe. Not for the story's end, but for the many worlds yet to come. Because somewhere in another desert, another heart is waiting to be reborn.